Okay, so now I have two transmissions that are on the ground on dollies. One is a good transmission, one is a bad transmission. I have a car that is up in the air. So the question is, how do I get the transmission up into the car? And I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. So watch carefully. This is probably not something that most of you will do at home. So there we go. With some minor adjustments, the transmission is ready to be jacked up to the level of the engine block. Of course, we're going to level it and get it all lined up using the transmission jack, and this is how the pros do it, okay? Alright, so using the adjustability features of the transmission jack, there's a front to back tilt and a side to side tilt. I've finagled the transmission into the exact correct position, and I've slid it onto the guide rails that I had placed into the block. So let's go take a closer look at that. Okay, so here you can see maybe that the bell housing is mated exactly to the block on this side, and same on the other side. And if we look from up here, maybe you can see one of the guide rails. Yeah, there's the guide rail right there. It's supporting the weight of the transmission right now, and same on the other side. So I can go ahead and get one or two bolts started just to secure it, and then I can drop the jack. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to start these two 10mm bolts that go in the bottom of the transmission. So now, combined with the dowels and the input shaft and the rails I have on top, the transmission is fully supported. I can go ahead and drop the transmission jack. So now I have all the bolts in on the bottom of the transmission. I have this bolt right here, this bolt right here, I have this bolt right here, and this bolt up here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I have remaining is two starter bolts from the other side, and the two 12mm bolts up on top. So let's do the starter first while we have the car up in the air, and then we'll get to the top bolts. Okay, so I want to get the transmission supported on its motor mount that you can see right there. And in order to do that, I'm going to put the transmission mount bracket back on the transmission. I've replaced the bracket down here. I've tightened down the bolts. Okay, and now I can use this screw to lift up the transmission and hang it back on its mount right here. For some reason, the transmission mount is not lining up exactly as it should. It's off by a fraction of an inch. So what I do in order to correct this is I loosen the bolts on the transmission bracket from the transmission so I can wiggle the bracket around. Then I engage the transmission mounting bolts, and then I tighten up everything. So there I have loosened up these three bolts here that hold the bracket to the transmission. It gave me enough wiggle room, and this bolt, transmission mounting bolt, now engages all the way through. Alright, so now I can tighten those bolts back down, and I can release the entire assembly to hang off the mount. Alrighty, so the mount is tightened in, and this bolt is through, and now I can release this engine support and hang the engine and the transmission back on the mounting system. Okay, so now we can complete reinstalling everything. And this is pretty much all that you need to see. The installation of everything that remains is exactly the reverse of the removal, and it's pretty straightforward. So this completes this video, and thanks for watching.